In 2013, Mitch Weiss decided to take a path any lesser man wouldn't dare travel. He now finds himself training to become the Midwest's most knowledgeable sports broadcaster. Focusing on Big Ten and Detroit sports teams, he decided to create a dwelling where his training would go undisturbed, a cave. More specifically, the Man Cave.
No girls allowed.
Mitch enlisted a team of highly sophisticated cavemen into his service to assist him in his tireless search for, well, sports stuff. When they're not sleeping, eating, or, oh yeah, they're analyzing sports, as best a caveman can. You have now entered the Man Cave.
Milton Marcus Lafayette O'Quinn III glides in at 5'11 and 195 pounds of stunning caramel loveliness. When he's not making the ladies pass out as if he were the black Justin Bieber, this caveman has the daunting task of being the president and only member of the Joey Harrington fan club. He also enjoys candlelit baths while listening to his favorite album, Big Willie Style. Daniel D. Mac McDonald comes in at 6'1 and 200 pounds of silky whiteness. Hailing from the inner city of Bloomfield Hills, he is a simple man with complex thoughts. This caveman enjoys enjoyable things, frequently takes shirtless selfies, and hopes that one day Ryan Gosling will get a tattoo of Sparty on his chest. Sporting a small skeletal structure of 5'9 and 150 pounds, caveman Jason Frank Watson is made up mostly by the roar of his James Earl Jones-like voice. When he is not passionately researching sports, he can be found indulging in candy binges and making bold and biased statements about the Michigan Wolverines. Standing 6 feet tall and weighing in at a svelte 185 pounds, Mitchell Julius Weiss is the alpha caveman. He prefers drumsticks, but still enjoys nice breasts. When he's not managing his multiple fantasy sports teams, he's most likely quoting the movie Top Gun. If you're ever looking for him, there's a good chance he's guzzling down a nice IPA at the local brewery or at the park with his dog Charlie.
Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mitch.
And this is the Man Cave.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Mitch's Man Cave. I'm your host, Mitch Weiss, and I'm down here with Milton and Jason. D-Mac won't be gracing us with his presence tonight. He has some family affairs going on, but we will bring you the sports news without him. Before we start, just want everyone to know that I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I'm going to tough it out and do my job, because I know you guys all count on me and the rest of the cavemen.
Do what you can, but don't overdo it.
Overdo it.
I'm going to overdo it.
Good.
Did you guys have a good weekend?
Yeah, I had a good, relaxing weekend. The snowfall was pretty to look at, but not so good in as far as driving's concerned. But had some friends come in from out of town, did a little celebrating. So, yeah, all in all, the weekend was good for me. How about you, Jace?
Well, I've been working a lot lately, so I can't complain because I'm making money, but, you know, it's getting to me. My weekends are turning into weekdays, really. But coming down to the Man Cave definitely lifts my spirits, you know, takes my mind off of it. And that snow, I had to drive to Ann Arbor in the heart, you know, like the top of it. So that was rough. But besides that, I'm doing great. Weekend was fun.
Good.
Looking forward to this next one.
Yeah, I had a nice weekend, and then Monday kind of ruined it. But speaking of that snow, it's just a classic Michigan weather situation. You know, you get out there, the snow falls, you shovel all the snow, lay down your salt, get all that going, and then today it's, 40 degrees outside and all the snow melts away anyway, so all that hard work and labor kind of goes out the window.
That's funny because I actually shoveled my walkway last night at 9 o'clock at night, and then I got home today and my grass was there.
Yeah, today was a warm day, but I guess we're expected to have some heavy snow again later this week. So
Bring it on.
bring it on. Yep.
Just in time for the holidays.
Yeah. So speaking of that Monday night, I think we all know what happened. The Lions lost to the Baltimore Ravens at home on Monday Night Football, 18-16. The Ravens scored 6 field goals. We didn't allow a touchdown. The Lions did not allow 1 touchdown, but still managed to lose the game.
In Lions fashion.
In Lions fashion, there are a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of undisciplined plays, and there's a lot on the line now in these next 2 days. Not only the playoffs, but maybe a couple coaching jobs on the Lions staff, including the head man, Jim Schwartz. And I really think that even if the Lions do make the playoffs, which is a long shot, the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers would both have to lose once, and the Lions would have to win out for the Lions to make the playoffs at 9-7. The Packers and Chicago do play each other in Week 17, so one of them is going to lose, and Chicago plays at Philadelphia this weekend, which won't be an easy game for them. So that's a possible loss, but I think that the percentage that the Lions have of making the playoffs, I think, is 15%, 15.6%. So what do you guys think about Jim Schwartz's job? Is he in jeopardy in your eyes?
I think Schwartz is definitely on the hot seat. Coming into Detroit, I was real excited. His resume said he had a Georgetown degree, been a lot of places before. He came to Detroit. He was in Tennessee Titans defensive coordinator, and just little jobs. He was a scout, a secondary coach at NC Central. But when he came in, I was really excited about him, but he just hasn't been producing. I don't think he has the Super Bowl winning caliber to coach this talented team, because we're a team of great talent, but no one's ever been there before except for Reggie Bush. And I think Schwartz, if he doesn't win a playoff game this year, then he's got to go. He's worn out his welcome. Bring in someone who's done it before. I'll take Herm Edwards, anyone that's won a Super Bowl, but it seems like the Lions don't hire any coaches that have won a Super Bowl. What coach can you name that's been a Lions coach that has ever won a Super Bowl even before they got to Detroit? There's no one. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Jace?
I think he's definitely on the chopping block. He's on the hot seat. He was on the hot seat after the loss to Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay. What really upsets me is we have given away, we had our fate in our hands. It was up to us. If we win, we're going to the playoffs, and of course we lose. And what's rough about Schwartz is, like you were saying, Milton, he really hasn't. What has he done for us? 5 years, I think, is a perfect time to prove whether you can do it or you can't. Like when we were talking about Brady Hoke's job, you need 5 years is a great timetable to judge if a coach can do it or if he can't. And to go from 10-6 to then drop to 4-12, and then now this year you're hovering around 500.
With the division handed to you basically on
Right.
a silver platter.
Yeah, I just don't. I think his time's up, and I really don't know who wants to come coach here. I think that's what's tough is we're really talented, but, I don't know. I just don't know, because it's draft picks. It's not only the coaching. It's who we have on our team now. So I think he has to go, and I don't really know who would be the next option.
Well, the way I see Schwartz is he looks like an assistant coach to me. He made his living before he got to Lions as a defensive coordinator with the Tennessee Titans, and I think he's great in that kind of role, but he just is not a leader of men. He doesn't have control of that locker room. He doesn't have control of himself. And if he can't control himself, how the hell is he going to control, grown men? So I don't know if this has ever been done before, and I doubt that it would happen, but if he slid back to defensive coordinator, fired Gunther Cunningham, and bring in a new head coach, but that's pretty unprecedented, and I don't think that would be that's would probably create a little awkward situation. But what's up, Milt?
Just for the stat guys out there, Schwartz, as far as his head coaching career, which is only here in Detroit, he's 29-48, so he's won 37% of his games. And last time I checked, winning just over a third of your games doesn't get you into the playoffs or anywhere close to being a respectable team in the NFL.
My only worry is that the Ford family historically is a very loyal ownership to their head coaches, and Shorts did just sign a contract extension too. So I'm just worried that they're going to feel the need to honor that extension. But in my opinion, even if the Lions do get to the playoffs in that situation I went over earlier, I think Schwartz is gone if the Lions are one and done in the playoffs. I think it's going to really take at least a playoff victory for Schwartz to buy himself one more year. And it doesn't help that Reggie Bush went on record this week, I think it was yesterday, maybe even today, saying that the Lions lack discipline. That's not a good endorsement for your head coach.
Yeah, I just don't think anybody looks over at the sideline when they're on the field and trusts the decisions Jim Schwartz is making. You know, I don't think they're gathering around him and saying, yeah, I believe in what you're preaching. And
I agree with that.
And I also heard that they don't allow Matthew Stafford to do any audibles at the line besides like pass blocking coverage.
Really?
You know, they don't allow him to change the play, and that's just crazy. I don't know any quarterback on any other team that you don't see at least a couple times a game totally change the play, make a new formation. Stafford just does like protections, and that's it.
Yeah, that's surprising to me. Where'd you hear that?
I heard that on 97.1 The Ticket. My man Mike Vellini.
Huh. Well, I want to talk about Stafford next. That kind of brings us into the next topic. His career path right now, and I hate to say it, is kind of taking a similar course as Tony Romo. You know, he's a great statistical quarterback until December, and then he kind of melts down in December. And he's going to be around. I mean, he's going to be the quarterback for the Lions for the next, 5 to 7 years. So hopefully he has some kind of growth and develops some leadership and some ice in his veins. He's got to become more ice cold. He's not really clutch. I mean, he's had his moments. When he played the Cowboys this year, he had his moment, and he's brought us back a few times. But winning like that in October is a totally different ballgame than winning like that at the end of November and in December. Jace?
Well, what's rough about it is it seems like for every step forward he takes two back.
Yeah.
Like Dallas, he made that great call at the line to, score the touchdown to win the game. But then in terms of the Ravens game, with 38 seconds left on the clock on first down, why are you forcing the ball downfield?
Yeah.
And he makes those decisions constantly. And I'm a fan of Stafford. I want to see Stafford around because he puts up numbers. And I think even if Calvin wasn't around, he would still put up the numbers that he does because I think he's a very talented quarterback, and we spent a really high draft pick on him. But I could see how the comparison to Romo is real because you fall apart in December. Not like the Lions are always a contender in December, but recently they have been. And I hope he's not the next Tony Romo, just an overpriced, because that's just rough for me.
Yeah, his skill set, Jace, and his attributes they're all there. I mean, he's got the height, the weight, the arm strength, the toughness, everything you want in a quarterback. But I think he's mechanically flawed. I mean, that's been gone over a bunch of times by a lot of different people. I know John Gruden, who announces the Monday night games, mentioned that a bunch of times. He does a horrible screen pass thrower because he drops his arm angle down. He gets a lot of balls batted down, and he's very inaccurate on those short passes when he tries to do those, Brett Favre plays. But no one's even around him, though. I mean, just throw your normal throwing motion. Get the ball to your playmakers and let them make plays.
Yeah, and the thing about the Brett Favre throw is Brett Favre only threw that ball when it was necessary.
Yeah, when he was under duress or something
and it's
like that.
This is the only way I can make this pass is by throwing it underhand or sidearm. But another thing about Stafford is I think he rushes himself. He gets so excited and antsy when he sees an open player, and he'll overthrow or underthrow and
yeah,
it's rough. And I'm not like talking like bad about him because I'm a fan of Stafford and I want to see him around for a few years. Mm-hmm. But there's just things that I feel, and I don't know if that's Schwartz or him, but something's got to change.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that his woes that come late in the season are him just pressing way too hard to try and make plays because he knows it's a big game like Monday Night Football. I'm sure he had huge jitters. He knew how big it would be if they could get the victory. And so, he felt like he had to do too much and just try and squeeze it in that tiny Stafford window instead of checking down. Or I never see Stafford ever throw the ball away anymore. But when I see him playing great football, I'll see him just, if it's not there, chuck it out of bounds. I don't think I've seen Stafford throw a ball away in weeks, and his quarterback rating is taking a hit because of it.
Yeah, I want to touch on what you just said, Jace, about that quick delivery. And I think, Milt, it was you who brought it up a few shows ago, that Stafford has the quickest catching the snap to ball release in the NFL, like 3.5 seconds or something like that. And that can be great, and it can also be a burden, like you just mentioned, Jason. So that's something that I think he has to improve on his own. That's just going to come, I think, with reps, film watching, and stuff like that. But here's the ultimate question. Are the Lions going to make the playoffs? And I know a lot of it is out of their hands now, but do you see them? I guess the better question is, do you see them winning these last 2 games and putting themselves in a position to back their way into the division crown?
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they can win the next 2 games, but the likelihood of the Packers losing in Lambeau with the playoffs on the line to the Steelers, or the Bears losing in Philly, with the playoffs on the line, I just don't think it's possible. I just think it's out of our hands now.
I think the Lions they're embarrassed right now. The whole nation saw them not show up on a packed house at Ford Field. So I think these last 2 games, with the Giants coming to town, I think they're going to just destroy them this Sunday and try and get the media and the fans of Detroit off their back. And then they're hopefully, what's their last game? Minnesota?
Minnesota, Minnesota, though.
Yeah. I hope they go into the Metrodome, cool as a cucumber, and beat a Adrian Peterson-less and Toby Gerhardt-less. Oh, Peterson might be back.
Yeah, he might be back.
And Castle's been slinging the ball.
He's been slanging, but I don't know. They need to knuckle down. I always have faith in the boys, so I think they're going to make the playoffs.
Okay. Well, I think that they'll win the last 2 games. I think next week I'd almost guarantee a victory just because New York is so bad and we're playing at home, and we're just a much, much better team at home. But the following week, going on the road, last game of the season at Minnesota, which is allowed plays, even though Minnesota isn't in any kind of position to make the playoffs, their crowd will still be into it. So that'll be a tough game. The good thing about that Green Bay-Chicago game is that it's in Chicago. So if Chicago loses on the road this week and then takes care of business at home next week, the Lions are in. So a lot of it is actually riding on, obviously, the Lions winning the last 2 games and then Chicago beating Green Bay, because I think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. So Green Bay is not going to be the same Green Bay they've been for the last few weeks.
I just think it might be my Lions fanhood making me say to myself, if we already gave it away, I just can't fathom us making it. And I hope we do. I really want to go to the playoffs, but I'm not believing right now after what I've been seeing and the way that the Bears and the Packers are getting hot right now, and Rodgers might be coming back. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, the stars are not aligned like they once were for the Lions this season, but we'll see. They've surprised us before. Not often, but it happens. But Monday night was fun. Did you guys do anything for the game Monday night?
I actually worked down at the Elwood, which is right across from Ford Field.
Oh, yeah.
And it was packed. It was out of control. It was 5 degrees. And as soon as I got out of there, I turned on 97.1 and listened to the game until I got home, and then I watched the Lions lose.
Milts was funny. I talked to both of you Monday night, but Milt's I don't know if you heard this story. Mills had a funny response when I asked him if he wanted to go out.
Please tell.
Oh, yeah. I had a prior commitment that I RSVP'd for, if I should say. It was to babysit for parents that were going to the Drake concert at the Palace, Auburn Hills.
Now, was it your parents that were at the Drake concert?
No, it was
okay.
It was a family friends that I was babysitting for. And I was like, oh, so you guys going to the Lions game? It should be busy down there. They're like, no, actually, we're going to that Drake concert at the Palace.
That's pretty funny.
I was like, wow, that's my favorite artist. That's awesome. I'm jealous. And so I was babysitting, and I actually fell asleep at halftime during this Monday Night Football game just because That game was so boring and just
Yeah, it was
it was
boring.
just like
Only one
Calvin
touchdown.
dropping like
It started off
my
so
gosh.
hot. Though.
Yeah.
Reggie taking the 14-yard, the
Yeah.
14-yard rush. and I said,
Scamper.
this is looking really nice for us. But my question, how old is the kid that you were babysitting?
there's two of them. There's one who was 7, and then another who was 3.
So were you preaching Lions football to them, trying to get them ready, to be wearing that Honolulu blue and silver?
Oh yeah, I mean I had the pregame show on like an hour before the game. And they were trying to play hide and go seek, and I was like, oust yourself.
That's my boy, Milt.
It's Monday night in the Motor City. You guys are gonna learn today.
Well, I went downtown for dinner to one of my favorite joints down there called Green Dot Stables. It's a little slider place over in Corktown, down Lafayette. It's kind of far out of town, though. It's like in the middle of nowhere. It's very west down Lafayette. But good sliders. Everything on the menu is $2 or $3. We got some truffle fries and some cucumber salad. And then the mystery meat, they have one of the options is the mystery meat. So I always get the mystery meat whenever I go. And last week it was antelope. So I had an antelope meat slider, and it wasn't that bad.
Wow.
It was different. I mean, it wasn't as gamey tasting as I thought it would be, but it was good. And they have Stroh's beer there, good old Stroh's beer. So I had a couple of Stroh's.
Where are they getting their
Little
antelope
throwback.
from? That's my question.
I have no idea, and I really don't want to ask. But then after dinner, we went back up to Royal Oak and watched the game and played some pool at Fifth Avenue. And it was funny. There was a little confrontation between me and this other guy. It wasn't like physical or anything. It was the end of the game. The Lions had just gone up by 1. And this older guy, like 50 years old, comes over to me. I'm sitting there by the pool table watching. And he goes, "Do you really think the Lions are going to win this game?" Because he probably saw us cheering and clapping. And I was like, yeah. I was a couple pops deep. And I was like, yeah, man, they're going to win. They're going to do it. And he was like, "If you're as old as me, you would know how this is going to end. The Lions are going to blow it." And I was like, "No way, man. Go back to your area and watch the game," And lo and behold, Lions end up losing. And as soon as that 60-yard field goal goes through, the guy went like into a sarcastic like cheer, like ran around in circles. And I was just like, "All right, guys, we got to get out of here. I don't want him coming over and talking to me."
That guy needs to control himself.
Yeah. But let's stick
Come
with
see
some
us in the
football.
man cave.
The Heisman Trophy was announced on Saturday, and Jameis Winston, who is the quarterback for Florida State, redshirt freshman, won. He had 2,205 votes. Second place was A.J. McCarron, quarterback of Alabama, with 704. So quite a large margin between first and second, which we were anticipating.
That's exactly what we all said. No surprise to me.
No surprise. So I think the real question here, as I don't want to, because we don't have to focus too much on him, it was pretty much a well-known fact that he was going to win, is will he repeat and be the first repeat Heisman winner since what's his name? Archie Griffin from Ohio State, running back in the 70s, I believe. We haven't seen it. Tim Tebow came close. A lot of people thought Johnny Manziel might do it this year. So what do you think? Do you think Jameis is going to repeat next year?
Absolutely, I think so. I think what is it? He set records as a freshman just for like pass completed percentage.
Yeah, he was the highest rated passer in college football last year as a redshirt freshman.
So I feel like if this kid wanted to, he could go straight to the league. But if he comes back, which he probably will for another year,
he has to. You have to stay in college for 3 years out of high school, and he's only been 2.
Okay.
So he has one more year at least.
I say unless he checks out and just like wants to enjoy college life for one more year, I don't see why he can't be the second guy in history to win back-to-back Heismans.
I think it's definitely a possibility, but the guy who was in second place, A.J. McCarron, I heard might be coming back.
No, he's done. I
He's
think
done?
his eligibility's out.
All right, well, then whatever
one guy
report I heard must have been wrong. But in that case, I think it's possible. But you never know what can happen in college football. Even a guy like Connor Cook or Devin Gardner or something, could just go crazy next year and have an unbelievable year. Because going into this season, was anybody really looking at Jameis Winston to be a front runner for the Heisman?
No way.
Everyone was looking at Johnny Manziel.
No way.
So
Yep.
you never know who's going to be the next guy to just pop off next year.
Yeah, the one guy I would say could give him a run for his money next year is Marcus Mariota, who I thought maybe could have this year, but he went down with an injury late in the season, and they also lost a couple games. But Oregon's going to be explosive again next year, and he's going to be the quarterback. So he's one guy to look for.
Is Taj Boyd coming back to Clemson?
No, I think Taj Boyd's eligibility's up. Teddy Bridgewater may return to Louisville, so he's another name to look for. He hasn't said either way if he's going to go pro or come back. Neither has Johnny Football, but I think it's pretty much assumed that he's going to go to the NFL, enter himself into the draft. So the names I would look at next year are definitely Winston, 1, and then Marcus Mariota, 2. College Football Network, which is a kind of offshoot from the Fox Sports Network, already came out with their way too early 2014 Heisman candidates, and I think Devin Gardner was 6th. I heard you mention him, so I just wanted to say that he has been getting some talk, but it's going to take winning. I mean, you can't go 7-5 and win the Heisman, obviously. But yeah, I would say that those two guys are definitely the top four runners, and then there's this running back on Arizona. I got to check and make sure he's eligible next year, but his name is Kadeem Carey, and he had at least 100 yards in every single game. And again, winning though, you have to you got to win the games, and he's a running back, so he's not going to have as much control over the games, but he had a great season, and he could be a guy to look for too if he puts up monster numbers. He plays in that Rich Rod offense. Yeah, he's a junior this year, so he'll be back for his senior year unless he enters into the draft. Had 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns this past season, so he's another guy who you could look for. But like I said, I'm looking at Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota as the top two.
If I could touch, I don't know if I like that winning plays a factor. Because if you're talking about the Heisman, you're talking about the top performer in college football.
Right.
And if a guy puts up 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns, and his team's 8-4, why can't he be on the same stage as somebody who's put up just as good of numbers? Just because you're talking about an individual award.
Right.
You can't. You're not calling him the MVP. He's not the most valuable player. He's the most talented player.
Yeah.
So I think they should look into that, because if that's not fair to me.
There was one guy in the finals this year, Andre Williams, the running back from Boston College, who kind of fits that mold, Jace, because Boston College, didn't win a ton of games. They weren't in the BCS picture for a BCS bowl game or anything like that. And he finished 4th, respectable. But, winning does, especially if you're a quarterback and you're putting up huge numbers and you're on the number 1 team or top 5 team, you're definitely going to be at an advantage.
And let's not forget that the voting for the Heisman's kind of cool, because every former Heisman Trophy winner gets to vote. And who else votes for the Heisman besides former winners?
There's some media people that vote, and I don't really know how the selection committee works, but I know that there's like Dan Patrick. I listen to his show whenever I can.
I'm pretty sure like Kirk Herbstreit has a vote.
Yeah,
too,
so a lot
Michael
of like the media
Wilbon
guys
had a vote.
And I don't know how they earn the right to vote, but they do vote. But sticking with college football, Mac Brown ended up resigning from Texas. Like I said last week, and Jason didn't want to hear it.
I just said it was alleged. He
I was putting you into
he hadn't committed yet.
into a scenario where he was gone, but now he really is gone. And I don't want to go over potential replacements for him like we did last week, because that's kind of beating a dead horse. What I want to talk about is the actual Texas job versus other jobs in the country, especially the NFL. If you're an NFL coach in a mid-market, say like you're Leslie Frazier, who's the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, would you rather coach the Minnesota Vikings in the NFL, the highest level, or coach the University of Texas Longhorns football team, who's probably the biggest brand in college football?
I definitely go with Texas, just because the kind of hours and time away from family and work that NFL coaches put in is just absurd. If you look at these coaches, the way they age, after 5-7 years in the league, it really has taken a toll on them. But if you're at Texas, yeah, it's a huge program, but it's not as intense. You're not worried about getting fired every year. You control your recruiting a lot. You kind of know what you're going into, whereas the NFL, it's real business, and you can get cut any day, get fired. So
right.
I'd rather just hook 'em horns and coach the Texas Longhorns and maybe even go to a kegger on the weekends just to be cool. Like, Izzo shows up places in East Lansing, and that's awesome. Like, the people of the town love you, so I'd have to go with Texas.
I also would have to go with Texas. Personally, if it were me, I don't know how much I would even want to coach in the NFL. When it comes down to college, these guys are still learning. They're in school. They're not making multi-million-dollar contracts. They don't have egos. And it makes me think of the movie Any Given Sunday where the coach says, you know what, man, I'm going back to high school football. But these guys don't have money, and I could teach them. And,
Right, you can mold them out of clay.
And besides that, Texas is one of the most, storied, schools, not only in football, but just, as a university in itself. And, Milt was touching on the recruiting, and you're also going to make a lot of money, and to be at one of the most pristine universities in college football as opposed to a mid-market, mid-level 500 under 500 year after year team in the NFL, I would take Texas any day of the week, all day.
And let me just touch on one other thing. Also, with a program like Texas, if you coach there, your legacy afterwards is much more impressive than if you were to coach at a mid-level NFL team. Stick around. If you stayed 4 years coaching the Vikings, once you're gone, everyone forgets about you. If you coach 4 years at Texas, I feel like it's written in stone, and you kind of have a little more respect and a greater legacy in college versus the NFL.
Well, what kind of legacy? If you're only staying at Texas for 4 years, that probably means it didn't go very well.
But at least if you go around town, everyone there knows you, they love you, they respect you.
Yeah, that's true.
If Rod Marinelli were to walk around Detroit right now,
no one would even know who he was.
No one would care. They'd be like, okay. But
well, yeah, I'm with you guys. I would definitely take the Texas job. One, you make more money. I'm looking at these contracts for the NFL coaches, and Chuck Pagano to Indianapolis is making $4 million. Schwartz here in Detroit's making $3.5. Leslie Frazier, the example we used, is making $3 million. And I think Mac Brown's last contract was for $5 million a year. So you're making more money. And the other thing that's big for me is the control aspect. When you're a college coach, you have complete control over the entire program. When you're an NFL coach, that's all you are. You're just the NFL coach. You have higher ups that you need to, listen to, and your job is in the balance constantly. There's no. I feel like it's a quicker trigger in the NFL than in college football. So those are the two things that I look at, and I would definitely take that Texas job. There are a few teams in the NFL, though, that I would take over Texas. Maybe the Patriots, the Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Green Bay.
Those are mid-market, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying those are the jobs in the NFL that I would take over Texas. Dallas. Well, maybe not Dallas. I don't know how I'd feel about coaching for Jerry Jones.
You sure you don't want to stay home in the D and take over those Detroit football Lions, Mitch?
That'd be tough if it came down to coaching the Detroit Lions, or let's say Detroit Lions or Michigan. Who you taking?
I'm gonna have to be the Black Bo Schembechler and
go.
take my talents to Ann Arbor and coach Michigan.
I gotta take Michigan too, being an alum. It's something I think. It really. I think would be fit to be a college coach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want the glitz and glam of the NFL. I know they're both businesses, the NCAA and the NFL, but that's easy for me to coach in Ann Arbor in the big house every Saturday. The fire, the kids, and that's just a dream to me.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you guys there too.
Oh, that goes without saying. I wasn't even going to ask you what you thought.
Yeah, I would definitely be there at Michigan. So let's switch it up a little bit, go away from the sports. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced their 2013 inductees, and they are Kiss, Nirvana, Cat Stevens, Peter Gabriel, Hall & Oates, and Linda Ronstadt. Now, I got to be honest, I'm only familiar with Kiss, Nirvana, Cat Stevens, and Peter Gabriel. I really have no idea who Hall & Oates and Linda Ronstadt are, but the reason I want to talk about this is, where do you draw the line for what type of band can get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because I'm pretty sure that the Beastie Boys and I think Run DMC are both in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but they're labeled as hip-hop groups. So where do you draw that line?
I feel like those two that you mentioned, Beastie Boys and Run, they're like an exception to the rule because they like first created hip hop, but their songs were still kind of like funky and a little different.
Sure.
It wasn't like, so I feel like they're the only two that are exception to the rule. I can't see any other like.
You don't see anybody else out there that possibly could fit that mold?
I could see maybe like a pop star who's kind of hardcore.
Yeah, like Miley Cyrus.
like Pink or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're talking about Hall & Oates, have you ever heard the song "Rich Girl"? You're a rich girl, but you gone too far. But you know it don't matter
Yeah, I've
anyway.
heard
Yeah,
that.
probably.
That's Hall & Oates. For
Okay.
it. That's the only one I can remember.
All right.
And I know I'm not very good at singing, but there you go.
That was great. You have
It
a
was
great
good.
voice.
Good.
What about a group like a Tribe Called Quest? You think they could kind of fit that mold, or are they pure hip hop?
I think they're pure hip hop, and I think Run DMC definitely got a leg up from doing the collaboration with Aerosmith. Walk
Yes,
This Way.
you're right. I think you're
and
right about that.
Reaching out and doing things like out of your genre definitely helps. But I don't know. I don't think a Tribe Called Quest could. I'd like to see a rule book. Like what you have to do in order to be brought in.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Is it hip hop Hall of Fame? There should be.
Is it your beats? That's what I was going to say. I mean, one, should there be a hip hop Hall of Fame, and what would the guidelines be for that? Because there's a lot of rappers that would probably state their case to be in the hip hop Hall of Fame, even though it's completely different. And then two, what makes Run DMC and Beastie Boys the exception? I know, Milt, you said the collaboration, or maybe it was, I forgot which one you said it.
I did.
You did, Jay, sorry. With the collaboration with Aerosmith.
Okay.
But is it the beats that they use that they rap over? Because like NWA, they used a lot of rock and roll kind of beats, percussion beats, and I don't think they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, and Eminem's whole new album basically is
Eminem's another
sampling,
one.
and most rap music in general today samples a lot of rock and roll music. So that's a really good question to bring up, Mitch.
Well,
I don't
Eminem
have
did
an answer.
the Sing for the Moment. That was his beat for, that was an Aerosmith song. So there's another collab, and then you got country guys that kind of get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well. Kid Rock.
Is he in? I think he will be.
He will be. I don't know if he's in right now, but he will be, I'm assuming.
You think Robin Thicke would make the Hall of Fame under the case of blurred lines?
I see what you did there.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Have you guys ever been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
No, but I would love to.
Been to the Hard Rock Cafe, but that's about it.
Have you been to any Hall of Fames, sports related or entertainment related?
Haven't been to Canton. No, I have not been to any Hall of Fames.
No, I don't really get out of Michigan much. I should try to do that sometime and go check some stuff out of my comfort zone.
I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto when I was probably about 12, 13 years old. That was really cool. It's really interactive. They've got a movie theater that just constantly loops old NHL highlights and stuff like that.
That's
and then
sweet.
they have games and stuff where you can, actually play hockey. You're not strapping up in your skates or anything, but you can like shoot, and there's virtual games and stuff like that.
Do they have like the tabletop game? I don't know what that was called, where you spin the handles.
Oh yeah,
That'd be-
bubble hockey.
Oh,
yeah, bubble hockey
bubble
with like
hockey.
Gordie Howe in there and people like that. That'd be awesome.
And then they have a replica of the Stanley Cup that you can go and take pictures with and stuff. That was a cool one. I've also been to the Basketball Hall of Fame. That again, another hands-on. There's a lot of, you can go shoot baskets there, and there's a lot of interactive stuff there. So those are cool, and I definitely recommend going out to seeing those if you haven't. If you're fans of hockey and basketball, it's definitely worth it.
where's the Basketball Hall of Fame again?
It's somewhere out east. Let me look it up.
Because I know hockey's in
Toronto. Baseball's in Cooperstown. I haven't been to
Football's
baseballs.
in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, it's in Springfield, Massachusetts. The
Okay.
Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame. So, yeah, that was a cool experience.
Definitely on my bucket list to go check those places out.
Yeah, it should be. So then there's some interesting news that came out going back to college football this week. Lane Kiffin was brought in by Nick Saban to evaluate Alabama's offense. Why would Nick Saban do that? That seems like an awful decision.
Do you know what I compare that to?
Uh-huh.
A team bringing in Matt Millen to make their draft picks for him.
I think Lane's just bringing him in to boost. I mean, I think Alabama's coach is bringing Lane in just to boost his cred and hopefully find him a better job than what he already has.
Maybe he's trying to find him another job in the SEC so that he can just pound him year after year.
Look at his track record. Where he was at
Horrible.
Tennessee, terrible. Then he was in Oakland, right? He was the Raiders coach.
Yeah, Raiders coach.
Terrible. And then he went to USC.
Terrible.
And basically got fired by his staff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he got thrown off the bus.
But hey, Nick
Literally.
Saban knows a lot more than I do,
Yeah,
so I don't know.
me too.
But I don't know about that.
And then Kobe Bryant came back, and then he's already re-injured his leg. He fractured his knee. He's going to be out another 6 weeks. And with the Lakers being 3.5 games out of, I think it's 3.5 games out of the playoffs right now, and the Western Conference is very strong, and it's a very strong draft class coming out in 2014. And we all know Kobe's mentality, so if he's able to come back before the season's over, he's definitely going to come back or make a push to come back. But would you hold them out of management? Get them completely healthy for next year. They're not going to make the playoffs, so they'll get some lottery picks. I know they have a lot of guys coming off contracts, so they'll have a bunch of salary cap space, so they can really rebuild around him next year. But you got to have him healthy if you're going to do that.
Yeah, I'd if I wanted to sell jerseys and sell tickets and be a little selfish, I'd bring them back and say, you know, we need the Staples Center sold out every night. Come on in, Kobe. Get those sales up for good old Bing. But if I'm looking to the future and we don't really know how long Kobe's future is, then I'd sit him out and say, all right, I got to make a ton of moves in the offseason, and I really got a 1 year, maybe 2 year window to really get what's left out of Kobe to another championship. Because I only think he's got 1 or 2 years to be the guy he kind of is, but I still think he's a shell of himself.
My first question, do you know if the knee injury is the same leg as the Achilles injury?
I don't.
Because I think that matters to me if I would hold him out. But beyond that, can you hold out Kobe Bryant? Yeah, I mean,
It's tough.
He's Kobe Bryant. He's going for his 6th ring. You know, he wants to match Jordan. And I think no matter what he would do, are you trying to pull that up for me there, Milt?
Well, yeah, it's a fracture of lateral tibial plateau in his left knee.
So was that the same leg as the Achilles?
The Achilles, I feel like the Achilles was on his non-jumping leg, so I think it's a different.
That would be his
We'll have
left
to get it
leg.
checked.
That would be his left leg.
We'll come back. But that's one thing that would matter to me. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hold out Kobe, you know? And another thing, it's really good they stopped trying to trade Paul Gasol with Kobe going down now because they were having exploratory trade talks with Paul Gasol. And if you lose Kobe and him, see you later, Lakers. They're going to turn into what the Clippers used to be.
Well, I think it would be the right move for him to sit out. I think that's something that Kobe needs to realize is that they're not going to win it this year, especially with him being out for 6 weeks. And he needs to be fully healthy for next year. But in other news, I beat Milton in the semifinals of our fantasy football league last week, and I'm now in the finals.
I bet you have Stafford as your quarterback, don't you, Milt?
Going into
Stafford
Monday at
and Bush.
Stafford, Bush, Lions defense. I was fired up, ready to go, and that's why I fell asleep at halftime because my team was letting me down, and it just was not looking right. Before the game started, Mitch had Calvin, and I was already 40 points behind him because he had that boy from the Chiefs, 5 touchdowns, ruining my
Jamal
whole
Charles, baby.
weekend, man. And so going into Monday night, I was a little skeptical, but I was like, all right, Reggie's going to pop. Stafford's going to pop. Calvin's going to not. And Calvin didn't, so I was kind of excited, but Stafford was just playing like a tune.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Anchorman yet? Did any of you go out to the midnight showing last night?
No, but I have to.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but got a little too tired.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and see a matinee show later this week. Maybe tomorrow, actually, Friday.
That's a good call. Get some cheap tickets.
Yeah, it'll probably
Empty
be
theater.
empty theater. Well, not empty, but less people for sure.
But actually, now that I think about it, I want a packed theater. I want the room.
wanna hear all the laughs?
else, just like when you go see a scary movie. You need everybody else jumping
Right.
and yelling at the screen.
That's
and
true.
I just found this out because I have to say it now because I didn't know. It's the same leg, the Achilles.
It is the same leg.
Yeah, and the knee injury for Kobe. But Anchorman is more important than Kobe Bryant in my mind.
Yeah, I'm Anchorman's my favorite movie, so I'm very, very excited to go see it.
And I told you guys I had something important that I had to bring up.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
And I noticed that we haven't talked about the Detroit Red Wings today. And I am boycotting the Wings on this show until they end this losing streak.
Wow.
That's all you'll hear from me
6-game
about
losing
the Wings.
streak.
Yeah, 11 in a row in OT. Not talking about you anymore, guys,
All right.
until you win.
Well, you heard it first. Jason will not be talking about the Detroit Red Wings until they snap this streak.
So don't even ask me.
Well, don't watch 24/7 then every Saturday at 10 on HBO because it'll get you excited to see a bunch of injured kids looking cool because of HBO cameras, but they're not producing. But the first episode was sweet.
All right, the only thing I'll say, go Wings tonight against Calgary at 7:30. Let's win it so I can talk about you next week.
All right. Well, on that note, I think it's time for the caveman and me to have a couple beverages and watch the Red Wings. So that's going to do it for this show. Thanks for tuning in, and you may now exit the man cave.